Okay, there's almost never a dull day in Washington, and this week was certainly no exception. On Wednesday night, President Biden held a televised town hall hosted by CNN's Don Lemon. This happened to be in Cincinnati, Ohio. Lots was discussed, everything from COVID vaccines to our economy and jobs. Lots of claims made by the president. Associated Press even did a little fact check of the town hall. In it, they wrote, quote, President Joe Biden offered an absolute guarantee Wednesday that people who get their COVID-19 vaccines are completely protected from infections, sickness, and death from the coronavirus. The reality is not that cut and dry, end quote. Well, reality is never that cut and dry. Join me now to talk about this and more, Congressman Chip Roy from Texas. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
Always great to join you, Tony. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing quite well. Let me first just start with the town hall meeting. What were your thoughts on the town hall meeting?
Well, there's so many directions to go in what the president is saying in that town hall. I mean, I think most notable for me is the extent to which he's so dismissive in his exchanges with small business owners, restaurant owners, who are struggling to survive, struggling to stay alive, when you've got so many of their employees or former employees who are being paid more not to work than to work, getting absolutely crushed. And the president comes in and says, oh, yeah, don't worry, you just need to pay people more, as if he has to go figure out how to meet a income statement and balance his inflows and outflows in a business. He doesn't have to. And so he's so dismissive of the small business owners who are getting crushed. 100,000 small businesses got crippled last year during the COVID shutdown, while Amazon made $100 billion extra in revenue. So that really jumped out at me about how disconnected the president is from real life for Americans.
Well, also on the issue, you touched on inflation. People are concerned about the issue of inflation because prices are going up on almost everything. The president addresses, I think we have a clip. Do we have a clip of the president speaking to this issue of inflation? No, I don't think we've got that clip. But basically dismissive of the reality that prices are going up. People are paying more, and he says, "Oh, it's temporary." Everybody says it's going to go away. I don't see how, especially when you talk about flooding the economy with another, $4 trillion or more, and what he's talking about is an infrastructure bill and in Bernie's bailout.
Well, right on top of $6 trillion that has been appropriated in the last year. And keep in mind, Tony, we spent $4 trillion to win World War II from beginning to end, right? From Pearl Harbor all the way through Nagasaki, we spent about $4 trillion. We spent $6 trillion in the last year, or at least appropriated it, and we're still spending it. And now you've got this infrastructure effort, and all of that is causing uncertainty out there. It's causing people to hold on investments. They don't know exactly where to put capital. It's slowing it down. The economy's heating back up, of course, because people got back into the economy when we'd shut it down. But heating back up from having hammered and slammed the brakes, that's just a move in the right direction. But we have a long ways to go to get to the churning economy we had 18 months ago, where we're creating wealth and opportunity and jobs for people of all backgrounds from all over the country. And the president seems to be completely oblivious to how much it's driving up the cost of goods and services. And again, going back to, just pay your employees more. It's like, well, okay. I mean, I'd love to, if I have a business, I'd like to pay my employees as much as I possibly could, but you've got to make the business work. And so he's just completely disconnected from the reality of what's impacting, hardworking Americans every day.
Congressman Roy, let's go back to Dr. Fauci and the fact he was on Capitol Hill this week, and Senator Rand Paul trying to drill down on this issue of gain of function, the fact that the NIH funded gain of function research in the Wuhan lab there in China, which means you take and you basically take a virus, make it such that it'll move from animals to people. And that's what he was trying to get at. Dr. Fauci has said that was not happening. They did not do gain of function research, or fund it rather. It sounds like a play on, they're just dancing around the words. But Now we have Senator Paul is making a criminal referral, actually referring this to the Department of Justice, saying that he lied before the committee.
Well, look, I think the arrogance of Dr. Fauci is starting to catch up to him. I think we've seen it from the get-go. He was, propping his feet up, on the covers of magazines. He was hobnobbing around D.C. He was, enjoying celebrity status. And now he's starting to realize that, hold on a second, a lot of these bad things that occurred in the Wuhan Institute of Virology happened on, his watch and with his knowledge. He had emails that we are now seeing where he had some pretty good knowledge that, hey, hold on a second, this thing may well have been, engineered or created in a lab. And he had knowledge of that, which may well have helped impact how we dealt with the response to it over the last 15 to 16 months. And Dr. Senator Paul, is exactly correct to be pushing on Dr. Fauci on this whole issue of gain-of-function research and whether NIH funded it. Sorry. And look, I mean, you've got the Washington Post reporter, Josh Rogan, who basically said yesterday, I'm going to look down here real quick and quote, hey guys, Rand Paul was right and Fauci was wrong. NIH was funded gain of research in Wuhan, but NIH pretended it didn't meet their gain of function definition to avoid their own oversight mechanism. And, that's, I think, the dance that you just referred to, Tony. And the fact is the American people are pretty smart and they're seeing what's going on so long as they see the actual facts, right? Obviously, it gets obfuscated by the media who doesn't want to highlight it. Senator Paul is right to raise this issue. And let me raise one other issue on Dr. Fauci. I wrote a piece yesterday, I think it appeared in The Blaze, maybe the day before, in which I point out the utter lunacy of the statement that Dr. Fauci made, saying that, quote, misinformation of today would cause us to have not been able to eradicate polio through the vaccine that was administered in the 1950s. Now, Tony, my father was diagnosed with polio in Texas in 1949. He has dealt with the ravages of that disease his whole life. He's 78 today. And, we're blessed and he's been he's able to get around, but he's dealt with the, impact of that disease on his legs and his body. So I know it. It's real to us. And the fact is, the polio vaccine that was administered in 1955, within about over a year, there were about 30 million Americans, which was about half of the under 40 population, the target younger population, that had gotten the vaccine, and only about 18% of the total population in that year and a half. In this 7 months of 2021, we have now 80% of people over 65, 90% have one shot, 80% have two shots. That's the target population. And 57% of all Americans have received a vaccine within 7 months. In other words, this is one of the fastest, if not the fastest, rollouts of vaccines in history. And keep in mind that it was the Trump administration that got the vaccines out, got them to market, while Kamala Harris was saying you shouldn't do it because Donald Trump was doing it. And now today, some of us are saying, look, we love the vaccines. I'm glad my dad, who's 78, got the vaccine. But also Americans who want to pump the brakes a little bit and say, wait a minute, don't jam the vaccine into my 10-year-old. Don't go tell me that the government has the right to know whether I've had the vaccine or not had the vaccine. Just put information out there and let the American people decide. But when you have Dr. Fauci lying to everyone, like he did on this case, then it makes people be suspicious. And I think that's the problem.
Well, let me go back. Speaking of vaccines, let me go back to the president's town hall meeting on Wednesday night, where he said this about kids going back to school and parents. Clip number 2, please.
So it's going to get a little bit tight in terms of, well, are mom or dad being honest that, Johnny did or did not get vaccinated? That's going to raise questions. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to see this work out in ways that people are going to know in the community. Everybody knows in the community whether or not Johnny really did get the vaccination when he's 15 or 17 years old. And so I think it's a matter of community responsibility, and I think you're going to see it work through.
So how's everybody in the community going to know who's been vaccinated or not? Is he giving us a clue that something's coming?
Well, this is one of those things, some of my colleagues and I were asking the question when President Biden said they were going to go door to door. I said, well, whose door are you going to be knocking on, and how do you know which doors you're going to knock on? Remember also that it was just a few days ago, maybe last week, that President Biden said something in the zip code, I'm paraphrasing, of if you're vaccinated, you're safe. If you're unvaccinated, you're not. Now, look, let me be clear. I'm pro-vaccine. I'm glad my kids took the polio vaccine, and I was able to, and so forth. And look, hundreds of millions of people around the world, tens of millions of Americans have availed themselves of this vaccine. And that's important, and to protect the vulnerable population. But the idea that the government knows best and should come around and pressure people, and what President Biden is saying right there is, well, look, I'm not going to mandate for now a vaccine passport necessarily, but I'm encouraging all of society to go around and kind of shame you and ask and nose around and whisper about whether you've taken a vaccine or not. That's not who we are as Americans. Let Americans decide based on the information in front of them.
And I'm with you on that. I'm not anti-vaccine. I think every American should have the right to make their decision, and I think parents should be able to make the decision for their children, not the government. Congressman Chip Roy, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us today.